Yeah, what up, YouTube? It's your boy Zai. You already know what time it is, man. But we just gonna go ahead and get into something real quick. Everybody knows that I got Zauz Vendetta TV coming, and I'm gonna go ahead and just kick it off with this episode right here. And I just wanted to talk about a few things, especially this rumor that's going around, and not the one with the whole sangre thing. I could care less about that, if simply for the fact that it's already been proven to be false like a million times over. But for the people that's out of state that don't really know too much about California and the politics behind it, and not necessarily prison politics, but just the politics behind it, as far as when you join a particular set, hood, gang, vodka, whatever you want to call it, uh you're bound to that neighborhood until you get jumped out. And if you never get jumped out, you're pretty much bound to that neighborhood until you're gone. I mean, you get to a point in life to where you no longer have to do it, so you grow out of it, and then with the respect that you already got from your hood, set, bottom, or whatever, your homies tend to see it like, okay, yeah, the homie did what he did. He's still valid, but he's no longer partaking in the madness that which is gangbang. Now, don't get me wrong, I still deal with a lot of my homeboys, but the simple fact that they're young and I'm old, and they're handling their business, that's one thing I could say about my neighbor. A lot of the youngsters from my hood got jobs. They're taking care of families. Some have new kids, and they're pretty much handling their business. So on that edge, it's like I have to give mine to them now. So the whole thing about the sangre has been dispelled a million times over. But of course, if you're listening to certain cats speak on it, you're gonna believe what you believe. But like I said in a million videos, it doesn't stop nothing. Nobody has did nothing, and nobody will do nothing. But that's not even to start off this first episode with negativity. Of course, I'm doing this video in my house because I work so much that I'm unable to get out and really get in the studio. Like, there's a few spots I plan on shooting the podcast, but due to the fact that I'm working so much, I'm unable to get out at this particular time. And then other people that are part of a part of my group that wanna be part of the episodes, they're unable to do that this time either. Because they're working and they're shooting videos and they're working on their podcast as well, and just scouting talent. So they're unable to do it at this time. So I decided just to do it in my living room at this time. Of course, I have no pictures up. It's just excuse me, taking care of family members, kids, and stuff. I'm unable to just at the whim, so I have to set everything up in order to get into the mood of want to sit and talk about certain subjects. But the subject that I want to talk about, like, and there'll probably be a few before this episode is over, but one particular, it's like a rumor going around that I was rich and that I grew up in a neighborhood where there's really no gang banging. There was only rich, and that somehow I went to a private school. It's a lot of but the internet is undefeated, and I just want to dispel that. Now, if I did live in a rich neighborhood, and that I did have money like that, then I wouldn't need YouTube, unless YouTube was the one that made me rich. Now, if I got on here and I got a million subscribers and I was making six figures every paycheck, as far as like with YouTube, then yeah, I would have no problem doing YouTube, going as hard as the next man that's really trying to retain his wealth. But just to be honest, I mean, I'm not broke, but I'm definitely not rich. I'm constantly working, and if I was rich, I would have just quit my job already. That would have been a no-brainer. Like, why sit and make uh less than well, I won't get into what I get paid, but I can't say nothing. It's not one of those things where it's like you're not getting paid enough. You're getting paid pretty good, but not as much as you would. But if I was rich, I wouldn't have to deal with these particular nothing. I wouldn't have to deal with nobody, as far as like that's outside of the business world. And I definitely wouldn't be on YouTube uh perpetuating violence and stuff like that, which I don't really do. But occasionally I get negative. Like, I wouldn't be doing none of that. I would have my kids would be perfect, not perfect, but they would have been in a situation to where they're constantly winning. It would have been no struggle. There would have been nothing like that. So when people, make up these false narratives, I find it more funny than anything because it's like, do I look rich? You know what I mean? My beard would be taken care of a lot better. My head wouldn't have patches on it because I missed a spot. I wouldn't be at work dealing with different issues that I don't need to deal with. Uh, like I said, I would be better all the way around. And who's to know if I ever hit that point? Maybe one day I may be rich. Maybe I win a lotto and just drop off of YouTube and do my thing with my family trips and traveling, because that's what you really want to do when you have money like that. But like I said, that's just something that I find funny. Me and another one of the homies that I talked to from 18, like we were just sat and laughed about it, that somebody would eventually say something of this nature. You had one dude, I haven't watched the video because like I don't really pay attention to these cats or what they say, because every once in a while I'll hit YouTube and then I'll find another video about me, some dude in Idaho or something. Like, dude, you're so far removed from the Cali politics. Like, be quiet. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where you just gotta, if you don't know what you know, then it's kind of like, don't compare it to like your cities or nothing, because we're all different. Even we're so different that even every area in Los Angeles has a different way of doing things. Every area in IE have a different way of doing things. Orange County, same way. The 805, the same way. 661, which is Los Angeles County, but the Antelope Valley, and then Bakersfield. We all, and anything in Cali, we have ways of doing things. We dress a certain way. Some might dress similar to others, but we have a particular way of doing things. It's always been that way. That's why people that live in Cali can identify somebody just by the way they dress, and not just gang banging, but what type of music they're into. Like, I can see a guy and know that he's into punk. I can see a guy and know that he's into heavy metal, but certain types of heavy metal. I can look at a person and know that what type of alternative lifestyle they live, like whether it be, pineapples upside down, spade, the ace of spades, like whether they're into, the whole BBC thing. I can tell when people are swingers, you know what I mean, which I just described. That I can tell when people are into alternative lifestyle, period. But that's because, I've been around long enough to witness certain things and take part in certain things. So it's like, this. So the whole gang culture, it's already known. I know spots that I go that can be extremely detrimental to my health, because it's not if it will happen, it's when it's gonna happen. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. But I digress. Like I said, this whole Zauz Vendetta, like right now, this is just a solo project because I just want to get this first video out. And of course, it would be better to make multiple videos before I put it out. But I don't plan on doing so many videos in my living room. I plan on having my group and be able to talk about different things, because there is different things that I want to cover, as far as like politics, as far as popular culture, as far as like things that's taking place in the media. I had an interview that I can't really do because I feel like the dude is exposing not only for himself, but he's exposing things on other people that could possibly get him twisted, and I don't want to get him crossed up or get myself crossed up. Uh, you know, as if I'm interviewing some informant or something. So there's a lot of projects and there's a lot of people that, I've had a chance to talk to, but didn't really like their story because it was a little bit too, not, how should I say, not intense, but it was just a little bit too much of exposing of other people. And it was like, even though I know that wasn't their intent, it was the whole thing of, possibly getting seen. And this one dude, he wants to write a book, and his story is extremely interesting because he goes into, things that took place in his childhood, people that he's come across and known. And dude has known a lot of people, and it can be corroborated, you know what I mean? But it's just one of those things. I feel like if I put it out there, if it, even just telling his story, it might make him a target or something, and that's not my goal. Now, I don't mind plugging him with a few people I know that are ghostwriters that can really bring his story out. But as far as him mentioning names, he might want to change a few things. But these are the things that I have going on. Like, People want me to be stuck in a rut and continue with the same negative narrative that I've had in the past when I felt disrespected or I felt like people disrespected what I represented. But at some point, you get older and you got to move past it. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to move past it. So this is not 100% the best thing. People are gonna look at it like, it's just on his couch, he's talking. But that's the whole goal, especially in podcasts. People tend to be so scripted. And of course, sometimes you're gonna be scripted. Like there's things I want to talk about. Like I'll just get off the whole rich thing because I'm not rich. I wish I was. I wish somebody would invest in me like that because I think I could really do a lot of good things. It's been proven what type of person I am outside of this whole gang culture. I'm not just some one trick pony like these. And I'm not gonna point finger at nobody else because there's a lot of people on the internet pointing finger at everybody else. You got people even in music, like I deal with constantly. They're constantly bashing everybody else to make themselves seem as if they're that person and they're not. Like, it's proven. Like to me, if you're not making millions off your music, you can't really tell me how to do rap. You can't tell me how to rap, when to rap, or anything of that nature. You can't even, if you haven't did more than me, you couldn't even really tell me how the whole gangbanging thing should go for me because a lot of things are watered down, and I choose to stick to my guns and retain the same way of thinking as far as not out there destroying the streets, even though my raps may be about that, but that's just something that I live. But my whole thing is just to maintain what I've been maintaining since day one. You know what I'm saying? Sorry, I'm gonna try to put this down because it seems a little bit too bright. You know what I mean? But let me see. That might be a little bit better. But yeah, so excuse me, allergies. But that's what I plan on doing with my podcast. There's people that they want to change up the way I do things, but I'm not particularly interested in that. As far as like adding different elements, there's some people I won't interview no informants. I won't interview no shady. I'm not bringing pedophiles and all this on my channel in order to get some type of shock value. There are cats that their story might be a little bit too much exposing on their self, and so I don't want to conduct those interviews because I don't want to be the reason why they cross their self up or how should I say uh incriminate themselves. So I'll have somebody else do the interview and then warn them and let them know that look, there's a possibility that you're gonna cross yourself up if you mention too much. So I would refrain from doing it, or I would switch names. I would do something, you know what I mean, in order to keep you out the frying pan, because a lot of people are so quick to put their stuff out on the internet. They want to be famous, so they'll it's not even the fact of dry snitching anymore. It's just straight out. People are just snitching on themselves. Look, I smoke this fool, smoke this fool, smoke this fool, and it's just a thing to do. Or like I robbed this fool's chain, and they put it on the internet for everybody to see, as if it's means like you're tough. And to the weak minded, it's gonna be like, oh yeah, that fool took this fool stuff, or you know what I mean. But for anybody that's righteous and that's really been doing this for a long time, or just the people that are just not stupid enough to want to get caught, they're gonna look at it like you're a straight idiot. And there's a lot of idiots on the internet right now doing everything just to get any type of clout. Dudes come at me 24/7 with no real rebuttal to what I say, just spewing a bunch of nonsense and trying to perpetuate violence towards whoever. You know what I mean? A lot of times, you got people that make threats and don't never live by what they say. It's just you know, like I said, there's dudes in other states, or even the ones that are out here. They're so scarce, or they get scarce, and they're so up under a rock that you would literally have to dig the world up to find them. So I choose not to entertain these guys. And people tell me all the time, go at this fool, go at this fool. Like, yeah, the homies might look at it like, hey, you shouldn't be entertaining fool. But it's like, they're like, yeah, but it'll get you the views. I don't need the views, to be honest. Damn, Dusty Mike, so my allergies are really, kicking up. But yeah, a lot of people say that. Like, you should do this, you should do that. But I have to refrain from doing it. And trust me, there's some interviews that I was like, oh, I could get that. And then I'll talk to, like, the significant other and be like, nope, don't do it. Why? Because it's going to cross you up. People are going to look at you in a certain way. even if your name has nothing to do with it, it's still, I mean, even if you have nothing to do with it, they're still gonna look that it's your name on the podcast, whatever. So I have to be careful. So there's a lot of opportunities I have to interview certain individuals that I can't, you know. Uh I think one time it was like a ex mobster or whatever. And you know, people reach out to me all the time in order to get interviewed. But sometimes I think it's just more of a setup. They want me to interview them so people can look at me like, you know what? Everything that this dude said is trash. Like this dude turned around just for the views and interview the dude that's a pretty much a known informant. He's telling about other people. He's not telling on himself or speaking on himself. He's speaking on other people. So I refrain from doing that. And in that sense, I miss a lot of things. That's why when you have these channels out here that are no good, they're blowing up in a sense because people want to hear their story. They know that they can go to them and get the whole spiel. But you know, channels like mine and certain podcasts, they know that they're only gonna get, you know, certain things because certain things just can't be said. And people are hot about that fact. A lot of times people be up in arms like, well, why should I follow? That's why I don't follow no Southerners channel because you guys don't talk about nothing. It's because we've been taught a certain way. And yeah, some people, there's things that have been on my channel like, oh, that's breaking the code. But I mean, we all go through our channels and do what we do in order to make sure that we're safeguarded. So, you know, with that being said, that's why I never really entertain that form of jargon or that talk or that negativity. Like I cross, you know, all T's and dot all I's. You know what I mean? Because I need to know what I can say and what I can. And when you've been around as long as I have, and know people that I know, you can pretty much, you know, talk to people and get their take on it. Like, hey, you know, what about this? I do it all the time, no matter what age. You know what I mean? I have to, you know, really sit down and think about it before I even get into it because it can be misconstrued. It can be seen as talking too much. It can be, you know, that's another thing. The whole, how should I say, the whole misconception that people cannot be on the internet, that's false. In prison, you cannot be on no type of, you know, I won't even say social media. You could not do no interviews at all. I don't care if the cameraman came on the yard. You know, you try to hide because you don't want to be part of it. If they ask you a question, you just keep walking. You know, it's not to be disrespectful, but it's just you don't want to be on camera. I mean, it's not your fault if they aim the camera at you, but you just don't want to be on camera saying anything to them. Now, when it comes to social media on the street, it's a different story. I mean, you still got to be careful on what you say, but as far as like not being able to get on social media and talk about your story is ludicrous because it's your story. And people have said it across many channels, you know what I mean? But, you know, people still want to create their own narrative and, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm constantly throwing out rebuttals. Like, if things were going to go the way they were going to go, they would have already happened, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like people wait, you know, people that violate certain things. It's immediate. It's like getting, you know, doing a crime and the cops see you. You're going to jail right then and there. They're not gonna wait. You're going to jail. It's like I walk in a store with a gun and you know, the cops right there, and I pull a gun and he just lets me walk out. No, you pull a gun in the store and there's a cop there. He's pulling his gun on you, and either you're gonna drop the gun or you're gonna die, or you know, or something. Something's gonna take place. You know what I mean? But that's what I say. Like people make up these false narratives on what is actually what. These fools been so far removed from the game. It's like it's hard to, you know, it for the ones that know. It's like you to take them serious is like you know, but. It is what it is. It's one of those things that's you know constantly gonna take place because uh, people believe anything. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. People will believe anything nowadays. It's like you can say the sky uh is falling, and I know people use that a lot. You know what I mean? And these people my age or people that were older, they used to use that a lot, like the sky falling. But you know, people will believe the sky falling and be looking straight at it, and nothing could be happening. But somehow or some way, they'll be looking hard enough, and they'll actually see the sky falling. Don't know why it is, but you know, it's like they say, if you tell yourself you're crazy every day, you become crazy. And that's what people do. They constantly forcing themselves to believe things that have been proved otherwise. It's just they it has to be that way. It has to be that this dude cannot be what he said he is. And it's not even about the whole tough guy thing. Like, it's one of those things. We grow up a certain way. Like, in my time we grew up as men, you know what I mean? Like, the hardships, we took them. We've lived it to the best of our ability because we learned from those before us that things were going to be hard and you were going to have to constantly man up to get past them. There's a lot of things in life that take place that people take for granted, or people tend to cry about. But when you grew up in my time, it's like you learn to deal with things. You took everything in stride. You know what I mean? It wasn't none of that. You know what I mean? Like, oh well, you had a choice to cry about it. If that was the case, you cried in private. You didn't do it in front of everybody else because you were told to be a man, and nothing else outside of that really mattered. And that's why we are the way we are. Like, people say whatever they want about my generation, but to be honest, I think our generation was the strongest, and not necessarily on the level of other people that came before us, because when you go further back, like grandpas, and what I mean, their generation was hard, what I mean, and they dealt with less money, even though the price of living wasn't as high. They dealt with a lot and was making pennies on the dollar, but they were surviving. So they were taught to be tough. Females as well had to pick up the mantle when the men went out for war. So they were in the factories manufacturing the weapons, the same stuff that kept you safe in the war. They were manufacturing. They could no longer sit on the couch and be prissy. They had to get out and become part of the workforce. And this is not to get on that. It's just like, these are talking points that I like to get into. I mean? It's like there's a lot of misconception. Like, there's a lot of anti-feminism, and there's a lot of extreme feminism that and it kind of shrouds and puts a shadow over the not only the accomplishments, but just in general. Like, I mean, you things have went so far as to, like, even with blacks, like, what I mean, as far as like the black people, the African American people, whatever you want to call it. People have their own different terminology on it. You know what I mean? But even that, like, the fact that it's a lot of us cannot get along. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that type of party, and it's crazy. Yeah. So the whole, I'm not gonna get into the whole feminist movement. I really don't want to string this out too long. It will be a long episode, but it's mostly just to get in a few talking points, not necessarily to explain anything, but daddy duty's call. I have to deal with my son right now, so I will be making more videos, you know what I mean, but this is just the first of many, and it won't be scripted, but there will be stronger talking points on other things I choose to cover, and I might even do a couple of episodes a day until I can get into the podcast studio and be able to really talk on some things. But yeah, at the end of the day, man, just be better, and don't believe everything you hear. And that's pretty much all I can really say on that. And be looking forward to real episodes on Zauz Vendetta TV. And of course, I'm your host, Zod. And you have a good day.